Hello, my friend. Welcome to the Clofus. Boy, I'm glad to be studying and reading the book of Ruth with you, and I trust that you're benefiting from your own reading and study of the book. But as we read the book of Ruth, and particularly in that first chapter and that first paragraph, we come across that heavy material where Elimelech and Naomi and Mahlon and Chilion turn their back on God's promises and they go and live in a foreign land and outside of the promised land. And of course, we read about the deaths of Elimelech and Mahlon and Chilion and the heaviness of that experience. Now, we may be a bit like Job's counselors and want to draw a straight line from God's discipline to their death. But in all reality, boy, when you think that through, Elimelech, Mahlon, and Chilion's death would have impacted numerous people, both in Bethlehem and in Moab. And why is Naomi left to carry that sorrow and that burden and that heaviness? We can't unpack all of that, but we are grateful for what God has revealed so that we might know more of Him and more of His plans and His providence in the world. While we might immediately be drawn into the pain and sorrow of that story and the loss that is certainly there for us to read about and to feel, we also need to take notice that God is providentially in ways which He can, using the sorrow and the pain to bring about new life. Of course, we read in the story, about Ruth somehow hearing about God, even from the testimony of people who are not living for God. But as Naomi returns to the land, Ruth is committed to go with her. And she's committed to go with her because she's had a real conversion. And Israel's God has become her God. And those people have become her people. She has experienced a true change of heart and a genuine conversion. And so that's part of God's providence as well. God is able to providentially work in justice and in righteousness in countless lives of people in ways that we can't begin to fathom. We're grateful for what is revealed so that we might see it, that through this pain and sorrow, God is bringing about a blessing as a member is brought into His family. And Ruth is this wonderful person who has committed herself to God and to God's people. Years after this book was ever written and this story initially read and told, years later, people assigned chapters and verses to this story so that we might reference it. And I find it interesting that the beginning of chapter 1 begins with a famine, and the end of chapter 1 begins with a harvest. And of course, God had visited His people, and the crops are growing again, and a harvest is happening. But even in a bigger way, we know that even during that decade period of time, when Elimelech and Naomi and Mahlon and Chilion are living apart from God's promises in a foreign place, God is plowing, and God is doing work, and He's bringing about a harvest. And at least the harvest we read about initially is the harvest of Ruth, how she comes to faith in God. Now, who can imagine the countless numbers of people who are also impacted by her faith? Just like people were impacted by the death of Elimelech, Mahlon, and Chilion, numerous people were impacted by the faith of Ruth. Well, this is a great story, and boy, we can trust in God fully. He always keeps His word and keeps His promises. We're grateful for what He's revealed to us so that we might learn of Him and trust in Him and rejoice in Him. Well, hey, you keep studying the book, and we'll keep reading it together, and I trust that you keep receiving good encouragement from the Lord. God bless you. Have a great day.